Hey guys, it's Maddie, and today I'll be showing you the books that I have read this summer. So I'm going to show you all the books I read, but I'm not going to go through each one of them explaining my thoughts on them, because if I did that, this video would be 20 minutes long and I don't want that to happen. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hold up the book, tell you what I rated it, and then move on to the next book, and just do it that way so we can get through the video quicker. And then at the very end of this video, I'll show you the top 5 books that I read this summer, so I can just show the top 5 ones that were my favorite, that I loved, that fit the slot of being my favorite books I read this summer. I'm gonna go through each book in the order of the month that I read them, so without any further ado, let's just get started. So first, going with June, and the first book I read in June was Plague by Michael Grant, which I gave 5 stars. This is the 4th book in the Gone series. Next I read Fear, which is the 5th book in the Gone series, and I gave this one 5 stars. And Light, which is the 6th book in the Gone series, and I gave this one also 5 stars. A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas, and I gave this 5 stars. And A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas, which is the 2nd book in the A Court of Thorns and Roses series, and I gave this 4.5 stars. Crown of Midnight by Sarah J. Maas, which is the 2nd book in the Throne of Glass series, and I gave this 4.5 stars. Joker by Elizabeth Woods, and I gave this 4.5 stars. The Winter's Curse by Marie Wachowski, and I gave this 4.5 stars. Beginning of Everything by Robin Schneider, and I gave this 3 stars. Lady Renegades by Rachel Hawkins, which is the 3rd book in the Rebel Belle series, and I gave this 3 stars. Fire by Sarah J. Maas, which is the 3rd book in the Throne of Glass series, and I gave this 4 stars. Another by Yukito Ayatsuchi and art by Hiro Kiyohara, and I gave this 4 stars. Queen of Shadows by Sarah J. Maas, which is the 4th book in the Throne of Glass series, and I gave this 4.5 stars. The Beginning of Everything by Morgan Matson, and I gave this 5 stars. And finally, A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness, and I gave this 4 stars. So those were all the books I read this summer. In total, I read a total of 15 books, which is really good. I'm really happy with that. It was a successful summer of reading, especially since before summer I hadn't been reading at all for the first half of the year. So this is a big accomplishment, and I'm really happy that I accomplished to read 15 books this summer. And now hopefully for the fall season I'll be able to match that amount, but we'll just have to see, but I think it is possible. So now I'm going to show you the top 5 books that I read this summer. I'm going to show these books from least favorite to most favorite. They're all my favorites, but I'm just showing the one that I like the least to the one I love the most, which is my top book that I read this summer. So can't wait to show you guys, so let's just get started. So at number 5, I have Fear by Michael Grant, and this is the 5th book in the Gone series. I love each and every book in this series. I'm not gonna lie, I love them all. But Fear was my favorite book out of this whole series because this book did something so unusual that never happens to me. It made me love characters that I had never loved before. Like, there have been characters in the series where I'm like, oh, I don't like them at all, just they're not interesting to me. But this book made me fall in love with those characters because the character development was that good. It was amazing. So I just really have to commend this book for doing that, because that's not something that happens with me often. Usually when I don't like a character, I'll never like them in the whole series. But this book changed my mind about that, not just with one character, but several characters, and it just blew my mind how that happened with me. So I really love this book. It's my favorite book in the Gone series. I love this series overall, and I'm so happy that I got to finish it up this summer, because it had been taking me so long for some reason to complete this series, which is weird because I love it so much. It took me a while to complete it because I kept putting it off and starting other series and stuff, but I finally finished it and I loved Fear. It was just amazing. My number 4th favorite book I read this summer was The Unexpected Everything by Morgan Matson. This was my first Morgan Matson book that I read, and now I really think I'm in love with her because I love this book so much. This is a contemporary book about a girl named Andy, and it's all about how her summer doesn't really go according to plan, since she ends up losing her place to go to a pre-med school. So she ends up having to wing her summer, which is not something she normally does because she likes to plan out her summer. But during the summer she ends up hanging out with her friends. She falls in love with a new guy. It was so cute. I was really entertained by this book. It's a huge book. For a contemporary book, this is huge. It's like 500 pages long. But the thing with it is it felt like it was going by really, really quick. And I really liked that. It was a really fast-paced book. And it kept me thoroughly entertained. I loved pretty much every single character in this book. Even the side characters, you got to know so much about them. Like, all of Andy's friends have their own personalities, and you got to know just a lot about them, and I just love this book. It was the perfect summer contemporary read. I'd highly recommend it. It's a really good book to read in the summer, but I know summer is like over now, but even so, I'd still recommend to read it soon because I really enjoyed it. Number 3rd favorite book is Choker by Elizabeth Wood. This was a surprising favorite for me. I didn't expect to love this book as much as I did, but this is one of those books that just blew my mind. I can't really say why it blew my mind because spoilers, but I just really enjoyed this book. This is a contemporary slash thriller book. It's so entertaining. It keeps you on the edge of your seat. I just really loved it. And I unfortunately am not going to explain what this book is about because I swear you have to go into this book not knowing a thing of what it's about, because once you kind of know what it's about, once you read the synopsis, it ends up being really predictable, which I read the synopsis to this, and I really, really wish I had it because since I read the synopsis, I kind of already knew what was going to happen, and had I not read the synopsis, I think I would have loved it so much more. I still love it, but I would have loved it probably like 10 times more had I not read the synopsis. So I'd really recommend just going to this book not knowing what it's about. The only thing I can tell you is that this is a book about a girl and her best friend has been gone for 7 years, but she suddenly comes back, shows up in her room, and that's all I'm gonna say. It is so good. I highly recommend to read this, even though it's kind of an old book. I just loved it. It was amazing. And my 2nd favorite book and my 1st favorite book are both a part of the same series. And my 2nd favorite is A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J Maas, which is the 2nd book in the A Court of Thorns and Roses series. I have to say I didn't love this book as much as other people did. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5 stars, but it was still so good. I just love this series to death. I can't wait for more books of it to come out. I loved A Court of Mist and Fury because of Rhysand. Oh my god. I did not like Rhysand at first. A lot of people didn't. I'm one of them. But this book changed my mind about him because he's just, I can't even, he's so amazing. One of my favorite male characters now. I love how we got more of him in this book, and this book was just, made me feel things, it made me cry, it just gave me a whole bunch of feelings, and I loved pretty much all the new characters in this book. I didn't like one of them. I forget her name. What was it? I don't even remember her name because I didn't like her. I don't know what it is, but once I find out, I'll put it up like maybe on the screen. I don't know. But really love this book. Highly recommend this series. Can't really tell you what the 2nd book is about, but I'll tell you what the 1st book is about. The 1st book, Court of Thorns and Roses, is about a girl, and she lives in this world where fairies exist. And she ends up accidentally killing a fairy disguised as a wolf, and the punishment for killing a fairy is death. But the fairies decide to spare her life, and instead she comes to live with this fairy who is a High Lord of the Spring Court, and they end up having this romance, and it is just such an amazing series. I actually love this series more than Throne of Glass, which is also by Sarah J Maas, because I feel like it's just so much more magical, so just beautiful. I still love Throne of Glass, but Court of Thorns and Roses series just has a special place in my heart, and I just cannot wait to continue with the rest of the series when the other books do come out. And my number 1 pick, which is the number 1 top favorite book of mine that I read this summer, is a reread. Unfortunately, I kind of wanted to keep away of putting rereads on this list, but I couldn't help it because I love this book that much. I mean, it's one of my favorite books of all time, and that is A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J Maas. My love for this book is just insane. I love it so much. that I had to reread it. Especially I wanted to reread it before A Court of Mist and Fury came out so I can refresh my mind on it. Fortunately, a lot of people don't love this book, and I can see why they don't love it. I'm not going to say like, oh, if you don't love this book, you're stupid. No, I can see why people don't like it, but I kind of look past its faults because I know this book does have faults in it, because it's just so good. It gave me this magical feeling. I loved every part of it. I really love Tamlin, which a lot of people don't, but I love Tamlin just as much as Rhysand. I love them both equally. And again, I would just highly recommend this series. I feel like I could reread this series over and over again, and I know that I will because it is just that good, and I love it so much. So those were the top 5 books I read this summer. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, be sure to like this video, comment down below, and subscribe because I would really appreciate that. Again, thanks for watching, and I'll be back with another video really soon. Bye!